Good morning, everybody. Welcome on in. I'm your host, Bull Muscle. Got another consultation coming from a person who has written in. If you want your own consultation, be it about fitness, dating, diet, philosophy, personal finance questions, you name it, askbullmuscle@gmail.com. Today's consultation, one of several I've got to get through actually, so keep this relatively short, is good morning, Bull Muscle. I am a single guy who is straight, looking to ask about a cost-benefit analysis on dating at large and having a full-time relationship. I ask this because dating apps have not been going well for me, and because I'm starting to wonder if I'm not just wasting my time, energy, and money. Okay. So we can talk about this. A lot of guys, it's good that you're asking this because a lot of guys just naturally assume, they think with their dicks, they don't think with their heads. They just assume, oh, well, you got a date. And as a result, they don't actually realize what they're giving up in terms of their time, their energy, etc., as you're talking about there. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Okay? We're going to talk about the costs. We're going to talk about the benefits of dating. All right? Now, this is for the person writing me is a man dating a woman, dating women. So for the section of my audience that is gay and wants to analyze that, the math is somewhat different. So keep that in mind. Okay. Excuse me, I've got still trying to get through over this funk. Let's start with cost-benefit analysis of dating. Well, you talk about dating app fatigue. So that tells me you're using the dating apps. Unfortunately, it seems as though that's the primary way to meet women these days. Thanks to the Me Too movement, trying to chat up a girl that you might fancy at the office or the gym or a grocery store or other places that it used to be acceptable to do that are now no longer available. So that option's gone. So you gotta use the apps unless you feel like going to loud clubs where, frankly, it's all just visual. You're not going to be able to actually have a conversation with someone. So, okay, how much time is spending in the apps? That's what I asked him. Dude estimated he spent about 3 hours a week on them. And I bet that's probably a conservative estimate for a lot of you guys. So, and that's going to be 3 hours on the apps. That's going to be just swiping, having conversations with girls. You know, it's not, we're not even getting to the match. We're getting the match stage. We're not even getting to the date stage. Okay. So 3 hours on your apps. That's a fair amount of time already. Okay. Then we got to go with first date. First date nowadays anymore, a lot of girls say a coffee date isn't good enough. So a lot of times they say, no, take me out for dinner. Okay, so first date, let's go ahead and say you're expected to pay, of course, if you're the man. So let's go ahead and say, you know, you go to a reasonable place. Hopefully you're not dating someone that turns their nose up at, I don't know, the Cheesecake Factory or you know, a local kind of cafe, or you know, a reasonable first date kind of place. So let's say it's going to be an hour for you to go there and meet up, and then $40, right? So it's going to be $40 plus 2 hours. Now this is assuming, we're going to do this in a dotted line. This is assuming a 50% shot, which is probably optimistic that you're not going to get ghosted there. The odds of getting ghosted on dating app meetups are extraordinarily high. 50% is overwhelmingly conservative, but I'd rather be optimistic on this one. Cinder got to more like 3 hours a day. Yeah, probably. JJ, I'm feeling okay. Not great, but we'll see how it goes. Okay, so that's first date. You're probably not right. Now we gotta take this from two different perspectives. The first is you're a guy just looking to score, and to score, I mean, you can try and do that off the apps, but even if you just got to this point, right? Let's just say the first date goes spectacularly well, and you're looking, and she's down to, you know, go back to your apartment and whatever and have sex, okay? We are already at an average. Let's just go ahead and say you make an average salary. Yeah, this is the best case scenario here. 25 bucks for 3 hours. So 25 bucks an hour is a pretty average wage. It's 50 grand a year. That's pretty close to about average. So that's $75 just of your time cost on the apps. First date, 2 hours is another $50. So we're at $125 plus 40. That's $165 just for the first date. Okay. So your best case scenario is going to be sex, and this pencils out at about $165 per. And this is assuming you find a loose girl who is willing to have sex with you after the first date. The costs don't go down from here. Let's go ahead and say, right, this is a 50% shot. Actually, this is not right. This is a 50, to accurately represent this, we need to double this cost, right? This is a 50% shot of ghosting. That's actually really going to be double your time. So half the time, right, you're going to go there, waste 2 hours, and boom. Well, now you're out that 2 hours. It's a sunk cost, so it should be double. So it's going to be another $50. So it's really $215 per. Best case scenario. Let's say you're going for second date, third date, all right? Let's say she doesn't put out till the third date, right? Let's go ahead and say the costs of these dates is about the same. They won't be. Girls like it to escalate over time. So the first date's a coffee date or, you know, lunch. Second date will be dinner. Or the third date will be, you know, dinner and a movie or dinner and a show or something. So this, all of a sudden, more realistically, and even then, getting some after the third date, that's not a given. So more realistically, right, this is going to be, then you're going to have to filter out, because some girl might show up for the first date, but then you don't hit, that's it, sunk cost, or used you for a foodie date. That happens a lot. You might even get a second or a third foodie date, but ultimately get nothing. So this cost is going to double. So 50% shots, $40 plus 2 hours. Really, it's $40 plus 4 hours. It's a 50% shot of ghosting. So it's going to be $40 plus 4 hours. 4 hours of your time is $100. It's 140 hours. Multiply that by 3. 140, 280, 520, plus the 3 hours on the apps. Now we're talking $500. Right, and it may work out great to where you can get some economies of scale. You might be able to start hooking up with this girl in the reg, but how often does that really happen? So you're starting to get into that ballpark of several $100s per sex, at which point the dirty little secret is that prostitution might be cheaper. That's if you're looking for cheap hookups. Now, this is one thing, little caveat here. These numbers are for your average guy. If you spend a lot of time in the gym, right, you look like this, you're tall, you're high income, you've got a really good dating profile, and you've got Riz, you might be able to bring those costs down because you can hook up with a lot more girls. Or if you're willing to lower your standards, right? If you're willing to, I don't want to sound mean, but go out with an overweight girl, or go out with maybe a girl who's not as pretty, or go out with, you get what I'm going at, right? If you lower your standards, yeah, you can get maybe sex for a little bit less time and effort, but then you're not getting as high quality sex. You won't be as attracted, right? And it's hard to talk about individual preference because I didn't ask you about that and I don't want to know. But in general, right, there's a reason we have the 1 to 10 scale for hotness, right? In general, for straight men seeking straight women, the values of good looking body, big tits, nice looking ass, pretty face, not too tall, not too short. Men don't really care about height, but like insofar as you can, fit it in there, and then loose enough to have sex after a couple of dates, all of a sudden that's a small number of women that fit that characterization. And as such, the way the dating apps work, and you can go look at statistics for this, but I think the ratio is, I think women match off of every maybe 10 swipes or so, or something like that. It's several hundred for guys. So the odds are stacked against you to begin with, which is why you spend so many hours on those dating apps. But basically what this boils down to, if you're an average guy, consider a cheap ticket to Vegas, flying out to rural Nevada, and just going to the bunny ranch. It might be cheaper. Idrex, hello from Twitch. Good to see you, Idrex. Glad to see. This is why I've been posting this on my. I've still been running the Twitch reel with the card. I'm gonna stop doing this pretty good. I'm gonna start doing streams on my big tower computer again. At which point I will no longer be posting anything on Twitch. So it's frustrating. I don't know what to tell you. I really expected a lot more of my Twitch audience to come over to YouTube. It's still the same link, but hit that subscribe button, hit that follow button if you like the content. Grimsky, good to see you. Welcome on in. So this is best case scenario. Okay, this is just for casual dating. Oh, I got the DM. Nice. Well, if you really want to know when I'm live, go to my Discord and get the ping roll. Failing that, hit that notification bell downstairs on YouTube. So that's if you're looking for a cheap fling. And you wanted, based on your email here, it says you wanted analysis of not just, looking and using the apps for casual sex, but a relationship. Oh boy. All right. Because if you're looking for casual sex, right, the benefit is sex. Very simple. You're fulfilling a carnal desire. That's what you're doing. A really nice fleshlight or sex dolls, or again, even considering flying to rural Nevada and renting a hooker may end up being cheaper, especially if, you're not a 10, right? If speaking of, okay, let's talk about, I just talked about women's, what is generally seen as attractive, right? For guys, what's generally seen as attractive is at least 6 feet tall. So that's only 15% of the population. In good shape, that's substantially less than 25% of the population, but we'll use 25 to be conservative. So that's 0.15 times 0.25, and I'll go ahead and do the quick maths on that. 0.15 times 0.25. Just doing those two criteria alone, we're already down to 3.75% of the population. Women care about money. Even on the dating apps, they'll find a way. So at least you got to at least be in that sort of top half of income. Again, these are very conservative. So multiply that by 0.5 again. And then downstairs, you want to be above average. Average is about 5.5 inches. Obviously, girls would rather it be more, but they can work with that in general. So that's, you want to be at least on the right half of the bell curve again. So multiply that by 0.5. You're already talking, what, just those 4 criteria alone puts you under 1% of the population using the most favorable numbers possible. Okay? So right there, men are looking for, you know, the top 50% of women. Women are looking for the top 1% of men. And as a result, on the dating apps, that's why women get a lot more action than men do in general. They have a lot more choice. So if you're an average man, first off, if you really want to spend time dating like that, it's worth your time to go to the gym and put in the effort for the things you can control to improve yourself. But even if you do get to that point where you're in good shape and you're making good money and you've got a little bit of practice, you've got some game, you've got some riz. I went on a trip to the Big Island last weekend, and I was stunned by the amount of time my friends wasted there on the dating apps trying to hook up with girls. And this was on a boys' trip. This is a vacation for 4 days. There was no intent here of seeking a long-term relationship. Let's be honest. This was not for finding a girlfriend or finding a wife. No, this was for finding a cheap fling on a vacay. But the amount of time there, I was shocked by it. I mean, it's mind-blowing that otherwise reasonable, intelligent individuals, these are engineers, these are good friends of mine. I don't hang out with losers. I'm sorry. These are high-quality men. It's shocking. These are well above average men. Most of them were above 6 feet tall. All of them made good engineering salaries. Only one was overweight. Most of them were in shape. And it blew my mind. I'm just looking at this. This was all on dates and ghost conversations on the apps that went nowhere. None of them got anything over those 4 days. So they wasted a huge chunk of their vacation. I think ultimately one of them may end up pulling a girl a few months from now, or a few weeks from now, I should say. But that's 1 out of 5 guys that were looking there. I was the 6th guy on the trip. 1 out of 5. No, well, 1 guy also wasn't looking. So 1 out of 4. And of all the time they spent cumulatively, 1 hit. 1 hit. And to his credit, the guy who got the hit was in the best shape and probably had the best riz. So you can work on those things though. So if you want to pursue women for sex, right? If you want to just have cheap dates, if that's your goal, is you're looking to be single man tomcat around, work on yourself first. And until you get to the point where you are objectively in good shape and your finances are good and you have, then you start developing a little bit of riz, and then you go and start tomcatting around. But if you're trying to do it as an average guy, you'd be better off hiring a prostitute. That's the ultimate answer. So if you want to get to that point, you got to put some work into yourself first. Then you'll find that work you put into yourself is pretty rewarding, actually. So, all right, now let's do the cost-benefit analysis, as you're talking about here, of the whole relationship, let's go say marriage thing. All right, so now you got to do apps, because thanks to the Me Too movement, it's impossible to find girls now. You can go to church and such. Yeah, even then, it's not the way it used to be, so you're probably going to be on the apps. So let's go ahead and say again, 3 hours of your time minimum. If it's 3 hours for just a hookup, you're going to be a little bit more selective. So I think we can reasonably, it's probably, if anything, conservative to say 6 hours, right? We're going to go ahead and say you do that in 1 week. Maybe you get a match, maybe you don't. Let's say 6 hours at a time, all right? Let's just, let's do this per weekly. I'm thinking about it now. It's going to make more sense to do this. No, yeah, let's do it on a per month perspective. It's going to make the most sense per month. So just going to put that slash per month up here. So dude, what's up, or at least 7 inches probably, but like, again. So this is for dating. Let's go ahead and say you're putting in, again, let's go 4 hours a week. You're maybe a bit more serious about it. You're a bit more selective. That's going to be 16 hours a month. Or at $25 an hour. 25 by 16 is about $400, I believe. Just check my math on that. Yep, $400. That's just of your time. We haven't even gotten into the actual costs yet, okay? So, dates. Let's say you've done all the work and you're doing pretty well on the apps and you're going through women. You're doing the dating thing, right? And you're gonna have to date a bunch of women to actually find one that's kind of worth looking at for a girlfriend. All right. So you're gonna be spending at least 1 date a week. So that's 4 dates a week or 4 dates a month. So that's gonna be $40 plus 25% of your, or 25 hours, or $25 an hour, and let's just say 2 hours a date. So that's going to be $40 plus 25, that's $90 a date, multiplied by 4. So that's going to be $360 a month. All right. Then we're going to go with okay, so that's just getting to the point where you're maybe finding girlfriend material, right? Well, the girlfriend's still gonna want dates. So maybe you go down to 2 a month, right? That's gonna be $180. All right, so you get on to the point where it's $180 a month, okay? This may take several months to get to that point. Then we're going to talk about, let's say things go really well, you move in together, and then you look at marriage. All right. Average cost of the marriage in the United States these days, we're talking $40,000. All right. So let's just take the monthly costs here. Best case scenario, you're looking at $580 a month. $580 a month. If you didn't do that and invested that time either by working extra hours or by just saving the money and investing into the S&P 500, $580 an hour or $580 a month multiplied by the S&P 500, just 7% interest on average. This is a historical average post-inflation. If you just punted your 20s and did this from age 18 to 27, you just didn't bother, you'd save $100,000 over 10 years. That's the power of compound interest. $100,000 by picking up extra shifts, working overtime. And if you are working overtime, $25 an hour will come very quickly. By the time you're 27, you'll probably be making more than that. Because society values a hard worker, believe it or not, and there are ways to increase your wage. So we're talking $100K minimum costs before you even get to marriage, okay? This is just the running monthly costs of getting to the point where marriage happens. Then marriage, yeah, it's gonna cost you probably tens of thousands of dollars unless you found the girl who is willing to do a more reasonable marriage, but most aren't. They want to, that's why women think marriage is like the biggest day of their lives. It's because it's the celebration's all about them. So we're talking $100K minimum here. Benefits, okay. Let's talk about the benefits of having a partner gives you. All right, first one is, why do you have the wife? Family. That's a lot of people want to settle down and have children. That's the biggest kind of reason you do that. But to get to that point, you have some pitfalls along the way. First one, in the United States, divorce, 50%. A divorce rate of 50%. If you get divorced in the United States as a straight man, the financial devastation that comes of it is unspeakable. It's more or less half of your, the best case scenario is that you lose half your money. If you have, and that's if you've done everything right. You've got prenups, she's not feeling particularly vindictive, but it can get a lot worse than that. And I've seen it with my own two eyes. Not personally, but with some friends, roommates, and a whole lot of others. Divorce is a big pitfall. And 50%, again, so it's Russian roulette odds, what you've got there. Of the marriages that don't end in divorce, the odds of being in a relationship where both people are happy, per most recent statistics and surveys, is 28%. So you've got a 50% chance and a 28% chance. In other words, having a happy marriage is 14% chance. That's a 1 in 7. Your odds are 1 in 7. Now, I don't know about you, but an 86% chance of failure is usually not something I like spending time on. And I'm not trying to be, incel or whatever, but these statistics are pretty damning. The numbers are pretty damning. So where I'm going with this is, in your case, as a young man in his 20s, you're too young, man. You're too young, and you don't have enough to bring to the table to get the kind of woman, either for a cheap date or for longer term, that you're going to want. So I would say don't get married in general. I think marriage is a institution that has outlived its usefulness since we are in the 21st century, and women have largely achieved, at least on the political sense, equality with men. Things like alimony are no longer needed. Things like, this is not even bringing in the cost of child support or anything else. But, right, this represents an 86% chance of failure. And yes, if both people aren't happy in the marriage, it's not a successful marriage. You're not going to be happy 100% of the time, but you need to be happy most of the time. Otherwise, what are you doing? So we're talking, right, that, let's just say you do that $100,000, right? $100,000, if you can get that by age 27 in the S&P 500, at 7% average, thanks to the rule of 72, that's going to double roughly every 10 years. In other words, at age 37, that'll be 200,000. At age 47, that'll be 400,000. At age 57, that'll be 800,000. And at age 67, that'll be $1.6 million, which is enough to handle all of your retirement needs and then some. So again, I don't want to come off as one of these black-pilled fellas, but the statistics don't lie. Your odds are better in a casino, or perhaps more accurately, in one of those fine institutions in rural Nevada. If you just want sex and you are not Giga Chad, go pay for it. It's cheaper and it's much more honest. We're all whores. It's just some of us like to lie about it a little bit more than others. So there you go. There's your answer on that one. Pretty depressing topic, but the return on investment for dating, you need to ask yourself, how much do I value sex? Do I value it at more than, what we said there, $500+ per, and that's the best case scenario? How much do I value marriage? Am I willing to take an 86% chance of failure? Now, there are things obviously you can do to mitigate those risks, but a great example of this is one of my good coworkers at my old job. He married a girl young. They were Mormon, raised kids, had a happy family for 20 odd years, and then after the kids kind of went off to college, she came out of the closet as lesbian. And that's, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But at the same time, if you're the guy there, what are you supposed to do? What do you do to that? It's you can't give her what she wants. You've done everything you could to be a good husband, but if she had long repressed sexual desires like that, there's not much you can do. I mean, that's just hard. So I would say my personal take from this is, if you are not at the top of your game, what do I mean by the top of your game? I mean physically in shape, doing well at your job, you've got a financial plan to get yourself to where you want to go, you've got a general life outlook, and you know what you want in life. If you don't have any of those things, stop dating and work on yourself first. Just saying, if you want advice on a lot of those things, right there, askbullmuscle@gmail.com. I can help you get to the point where you want to be. Because now I'm sitting at the point where I feel as though I'm ready to date. I'm going to start doing that in 2025, for what it's worth. Now, luckily for me, I don't have to worry about just looking at women. There are more options for me out there, which is nice. But even so, if y'all want, by the way, if y'all want a return on investment calculation kind of thing for men seeking men or women seeking men, we can go down that road. But for this video, the lesson you need to learn here is work on yourself first, and I don't want to say self-max, but hit the gym or do some other activity that gets you in good shape. You don't have to have a six-pack and be a runway model like I am, but you need to be in shape. If you're 300 pounds and you spend most of your days like this, playing video games or working on your computer with Cheeto dust on your shirt, yeah, maybe there's some shit you could work on to improve your odds of finding someone who wants to date you, right? It's a two-way street. They've got to find you attractive. You've got to find them attractive. And if you're overweight or not very physically skilled, that's gonna cause problems. It is. Women like in-shape men, and men in general like in-shape women too. Sorry, that's biology. You can't. It's pretending otherwise is as dumb as this beautiful or healthy at any size movement, right? Beauty is subjective, sure, so you can claim you're beautiful at 300 pounds, but most guys aren't going to want you. Beauty is defined by how other people perceive you, not by how you perceive yourself. Oh, I'm beautiful on the inside. That's great, toots, but the rest of us don't really care about how you feel about yourself. So there you go. That's going to be it for this one. I've got a couple other consultations on the agenda. Stay tuned for those. I might do another one in a little while. Today, I may spread them out a little bit more. What if I struggle with the desire to even be fit? Wheeljahr Armillo, that's a really good question. Well, so it's the question of, what do you want out of life, right? If you want to go through life where doing basic physical tasks are a struggle, and you're going to have serious health problems in your 40s, 50s, and 60s, well, then if you're fine with that, then go ahead, be fat, have fun. But realistically speaking, biology is going to catch up with you. If you're overweight, you're going to be more prone to brain disease at an earlier age, cardiac disease over an earlier age. You're probably going to die sooner. I don't know about you, but life is pretty fucking fun. There's a whole lot out there to go and explore and do and see and enjoy. And if you don't keep yourself fit, you won't be able to experience as much of it. I like be big. I'm into fin down with paying men to degrade me. I'm never gonna desire to be fit. Just wanted to gain and gain. I like being bigger while sending cash. Okay. If that's your thing, man, I mean, go for it. It sounds to me like you're dealing with 2 of the 7 cardinal sins here. You're a glutton. Actually, 3. You're a glutton because you just like to eat and eat and eat and do nothing. You're slothful. That's sloth. You rather do nothing than do something. And you're lustful because if you're paying for Findom, sounds to me a little bit like you get off on being degraded, and that means you're thinking not with this head but with this head, and your life's going to be a lot more miserable than it needs to be. But I mean, if that's true, if you're implying that you're looking for a Findom, email me, nasciblemuscle@gmail.com. I'm not saying I'll take it, but I keep an open mind. Every man has his price. We're all whores. It's just, what price do you want to pay? Some people have different prices than others. Anyway, that is going to be it for today's content. It might be. We'll see how my throat's feeling. My throat's starting to feel a little bit sore, so I should probably give it a rest for a little while before I decide to do another consultation video. Anyway, if you have further questions, askbullmuscle@gmail.com. As always, y'all, make good decisions. Those good decisions form your habits. Those habits form your values. The good decisions form your actions. The actions form your habits. The habits form your values. Values form an ethos. Can be guided star through the rough waters of life. Much love, y'all. Come in for the hug. Shoots. See y'all later.